जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी। गोपी जनवल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपी जना वल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी। यशो
Jaya
अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपिनाथ श्याम राधा गिरि गोवर्धन की ग्रंथा श्रीमद् भागवतम की
जय
श्री श्री राधा गोविंद देव की श्री श्री गोविंदाय की श्री प्रभुपाद की निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे all glories to some devotees all glories to some devotees all glories to some devotees all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraye nashtaprayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavatasevaya bhagavati uttamashloke bhaktirbhavati naishtiki krishnaya vasudevaya devaki nandanaya cha nandagopakumaraya govindaya namo namaha. Hare Krishna. We are reading Canto 3, Chapter 26, entitled Fundamental Principles of Material Nature, verse 19. Daivakshvidadharminyam
Devakshubhidharminyam
svasyam yono parakumar
Svasyam yono parakumam
adhatta viryamakshasuta
Adhatta hiyam sasuta
mahatattvam hiranmayam
Mahatratvam hiranmayam
Daivakshvidadharminyam
Devakshubhidharminyam
svasyam yono parakumar
Svasyam yono parakumam
adhatta viryam sasuta
Adhatta hiyam sasuta
mahatattvam hiranmayam
Mahatratvam hiranmayam
Daivakshvidadharminyam
Devakshubhidharminyam
svasyam yono parakumar
Svasyam yono parakumam
adhatta viryam sasuta
Adhatta hiyam sasuta
mahatattvam hiranmayam
Mahatratvam hiranmayam
दैवाक्षुभितधर्मिण्यां
Devakshubhidharminyam
स्वास्यं यो नो परापुमान्
Svasyam yono parakumam
आदत्ता वीर्यं सासुता
Adhatta hiyam sasuta
तत्त्वं हिरण्मयं
Mahatratvam hiranmayam Devakshubhidharminyam Svasyam yono parakumam Adhatta hiyam sasuta Mahatratvam hiranmayam Devakshubhidharminyam Devakshubhidharminyam Svasyam yono parakumam Svasyam yono parakumam Adhatta viryam sasuta Adhatta viryam sasuta Mahattatvam hiranmayam Mahattatvam hiranmayam
Devakshubhidharminyam
Devakshubhidharminyam
Svasyam yono parapuman
Svasyam yono parakumam
Adhatta viryam sasuta
Adhatta viryam sasuta
Mahattatvam hiranmayam
Mahattatvam hiranmayam Devakshubhidharminyam Devashvitadharmya Swasyam Yonam Paraparama Adatviryam Sasuta Mahatattvam Hiranmayam Devashvitadharmya Swasyam Yonam Paraparama Adatviryam Sasuta Mahatattvam Hiranmayam
Daivat. By destiny of the conditioned souls. Shubhita. Agitated. Dharminyam. Whose equilibrium of the modes. Swasyam.
His own.
Yonam. In the womb. Material nature. Parapuman. Supreme personality of Godhead. Adhatta. Impregnated. Viryam.
Semen.
His internal potency. Sa. She. Material nature. Asuta. Delivered. Mahatattvam. The sum total of cosmic intelligence. Hiranmayam. Known as Hiranmaya. Translation purport by His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. After the Supreme Personality of Godhead impregnates material nature with His internal potency, material nature delivers the sum total of the cosmic intelligence, which is known as Hiranmaya. This takes place in material nature when she is agitated by destinations of the conditioned souls. Purport. This impregnation of material nature is described in Bhagavad Gita, 14th chapter, verse 3. Material nature's primal factor is the Mahatattva, or breeding source of all varieties. This part of material nature, which is called Pradhana, as well as Brahman, is impregnated by the Supreme Personality of Godhead and delivers varieties of living entities. Material nature in this connection is called Brahman because it is perverted reflection of the spiritual nature. It is described in the Vishnu Purana that the living entities belong to the spiritual nature. The potency of the Supreme Lord is spiritual, and the living entities, although they are marginal potency, are also spiritual. If the living entities were not spiritual, this description of impregnation by the Supreme Lord would not be applicable. The Supreme Lord does not put his semen into that which is not spiritual. But it is stated here that the Supreme Person puts his semen into material nature. This means that the living entities are spiritual by nature. After impregnation, material nature delivers all kinds of living entities, beginning from the greatest living creature, Lord Brahma, down to the insignificant ant in all varieties of form. In Bhagavad Gita 14.4, material nature is clearly mentioned as Sarva Yonishu. This means that of all varieties of species, demigods, human beings, animals, birds and beasts, whatever is manifested, material nature is the mother, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the seed-giving Father. Generally, it is experienced that the father gives life to the child, but the mother gives his body. Although the seed of life is given by the father, the body develops within the womb of the mother. Similarly, the spiritual living entities are impregnated into the womb of material nature, but the body, being supplied by material nature, takes on many different species and forms of life. The theory that the symptoms of life are manifest by the interaction of 24 material elements is not supported here. The living force comes directly from the Supreme Personality of Godhead as completely spiritual. Therefore, no material scientific advancement can produce life. The living force comes from the spiritual world and has nothing to do with the interaction of the material elements. Om Jnana-Timirandasya Jnananjana-Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta-Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Vasachati Vishatarini Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gauratishe Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandhu Jagarpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namoste Tapta Kanta Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanuste Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhuvyate Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So before I begin, I would like to seek the blessings of His Holiness Shikha Maharaj and His Holiness Amir Das Maharaj, all the assembled devotees, so that something worthwhile can be spoken from Srila Prabhupada's purports and in his mood of reaching out the most complex subject matter in this world in a way that is easily accessible to everyone. Actually, yesterday one boy had called me on the phone and he said he was actually crying on the phone because he said he was in a group of 3 people and 2 of his friends who were all preparing for jobs. 2 of his friends got a job and he didn't get. So he was feeling very bad about it. So I told him, Prabhu, I think you are envious of others because they got a job, you are even more sad. He said, no Prabhu, I wish very well. But my problem is I am not getting a job and the clock is ticking. And after a certain time I have to return back to India. So I was just thinking, actually, the best thing a living entity can do in such a situation, actually in any situation, is to take shelter of Krishna. That means he can actually, the best thing he can do in any situation is to increase his dose of Krishna consciousness. If someone is chanting 1 round, chant 2 rounds. Someone is chanting 2 rounds, chant 4 rounds. Someone is chanting 4 rounds, chant 8 rounds. Someone is chanting 8 rounds, 16 rounds. If someone is chanting 16 rounds, then improve the quality of 16 rounds. That come from the morning program. Move into a student center. So with this thought in mind, I told him that this is a good opportunity for you who is regularly chanting 4 rounds. Better you start chanting 8 rounds and gradually come to 16 rounds. And he said yes. So, in this world, even sufferings exist. Why do sufferings exist? Yes, material world is dukkha and shashvata. But sufferings exist for us so that we can become better devotees. Isn't it? Why am I telling you all this? Because in this verse you'll find Daivat Shuddha Dharminyam. Daivat means the destiny of the conditioned soul. Karma also is put into the material nature. Sasyam Yona Parapuman. Parapuman is the Supreme Lord. Adatta Vidyam Sasuta. So if you look for the word Adatta means placed and it's usually used with the word Vidyam, which is the semen. But we understand the Supreme Lord Lord is completely divine. Janma karma samedivya evam yogi tattvaha. So divine that when we understand that divinity, we get delivered. He is so divine. Tattva devam punarjanma naiti ameti sarjana. So, Ananta Virya means Supreme Lord placed his semen into Mahatattva, which is also called as Hiranmayam, or which is also called as Brahman. So, in this world, sometimes the materialistic people or materialistically minded people, they often fail to go beyond the superficial covering to understand the root cause of the happenings, what is happening in this world. That means, just like this boy, he is not able to understand. He has attended good amount of sessions. He knows what karma is all about. He knows how the devotees, when they start chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna takes care of them personally. But still he is shedding tears because he is not getting a job. Isn't it? So, which goes on to show that if we don't apply this knowledge or if we don't deepen our Krishna consciousness, then in such times we often fail to see the real cause of all causes. So, in this purport you will find Srila Prabhupada saying, he says the material nature, which is called as Pradhana or Brahman, is impregnated by the Supreme Personality of Godhead with living entities. Of course, so how does he do impregnation? By his glancing. Because Krishna's all limbs of his body are multifunctional. Through seeing he can eat, through seeing he can impregnate, through seeing he can nourish the devotees' hearts by infusing their hearts with bliss of Krishna consciousness. By seeing he can heal the wounds. So one sight can do all of them. Maya dakshena prakriti suyate satcharachanam hetunanena panteya jagat viparivartate. Krishna is telling the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, my dear Arjuna, please understand that this prakriti is moving under my supervision. Adi aksha. Aksha means ikshita. That means eyes or sight. Adi aksha means seeing from the top. Seeing from the top means supervising. So, Krishna is seeing and making the whole material nature move. Why? Because that means he is a person who has no job but gets everything done and he is only enjoying. This is Krishna. So, he impregnates the material nature with the living entities, and in that impregnation is called as Shambhu. Isn't it? Because he doesn't come in direct contact with material nature. So let me just take you to, because Prabhupada quotes 14.3, let me just take you to 14.3. See, in 14.3 it said, Mama Yonir Mahad Brahma, can you read?
Mama Yonir Mahad
Tasmin Garbham Dadamyaham,
Tasmin Garbham Dadamyaham,
Sambhava Sarvabhutanam,
Sambhava
Tato
Sarvabhutanam,
Bhavati Bharata.
Tato Bhavati Bharata.
Can you read? Translation.
The total material substance called Brahman is the source of birth, and it is that Brahman that I impregnate, making possible the births of all living beings, O son of Bharata.
So Prabhupada quotes the Mundaka Upanishad 119, Tasmad etat Brahma Nama Rupam Annam Chachayate. That means how this, the Mahatattva is called as Brahman. Brahman means spirit, that can mean the conditioned soul, spiritual living entities. It can mean the supreme spirit, Brahman, or it can also mean material nature. In this purport, Prabhupada quotes the Vrishchika Tandula Nyaya, which says that sometimes in India what would happen, Prabhupada says, is in bags of rice you will find small scorpions coming out. So people who don't know enough, they say that the rice has given birth to the scorpions. But how can rice give birth to scorpions? Isn't it? So actually what has happened is the mother scorpion has gone inside and laid eggs some other time. So later on the mother scorpion has gone, but the eggs remain. And therefore, because of the heat of the rice, it is hatched and small scorpions come out. So people, if they do not know how the eggs came in the first place, they think the bag of rice is given birth to scorpions, isn't it? So similarly, people think, because people do not know the existence of the Supreme Lord, the cause of all causes, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, Ananda Radha, not that one. Sarva Karana Karanam. That's one. Sarva Karana Karanam. So Sarva Karana Karanam means the Supreme Lord is the cause of all causes. If this material nature has to function, Supreme Lord is the cause. If someone has to suffer, Supreme Lord is also the cause. How can the Supreme Lord, the well-wisher of all entities, be the cause? Because he is the ultimate cause. He is not the only cause, he is the ultimate cause. Remote cause is our action. Remote cause is, you can say, the administration, that is the demigods. And the immediate cause is us, our own action, past action. So like this, the scriptures explain how there is the existence of Supreme Lord who is the cause of all causes. Krishna says, Bhumi Rapo Nano Vayukam Mano Mudire Vicha Ahankar Mutiyam Me Binna Me Prakritashtha. That means even the material elements are coming from me. Then Apareya Vidas Kwayam Vidhi Me Prakriti Param. Whatever spiritual nature, that also comes from me. Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo Mattasarvam Prabhavate. That word's translation proper says, from me all the material and spiritual worlds are being emanated. That means Krishna is cause not only of the spiritual reality but also of the material. Yeah. So Krishna is the cause of all causes. So just as in this world, in our experience we find we never see that a person is born without a creator. That is, there is nothing produced without life. Why? Because life comes from life. So Sri Prabhupada is writing here towards the end of the purport. Yeah. The theory that the symptoms of life are manifest with the interaction of 24 material elements is not supported here. Why? Because it's mentioned the Supreme Lord is placing the semen in the womb of material nature. The living force comes directly from the Supreme Person of Godhead and therefore spiritual. Therefore, no material scientific advancement can produce life. So, when you study the 715, Namam Duskritano Muda, Prapadyante Naradana, Maya Aprita Jnana. Maya Aprita Jnana refers to
knowledge stolen by intelligence.
Yeah, but who are they? What class of people? Scientists. The materialistic modern scientists, they are referred to as Maya Aprita Jnana. So when you refer to the 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, there Krishna speaks about the divine and demoniac assets. One of the demoniac assets is Aparasparam Bhutanam, some Aparasparam Sambhutam, Kimanyat Kamaitikam. Because the demoniac think ultimately it's just my own lust, which is actually giving birth to the next child. Because they think body can come together and produce another body. But it's not true. That's not how it works. Isn't it? So, in history, there have been many scientists who have proposed multiple theories, like the spontaneous generation theory. They have proposed the Big Bang theory. They have proposed the string theory, quantum theory, and many more theories. But they all have remained as theories. So the Britannica Encyclopedia says that there is no good enough theory to be accepted as the origin of the universe. Not yet. Even though they're producing, they're coming up with theories after theories. Why? Because none of these are mathematically verifiable. None of them people have observed. So therefore they are not called, they cannot be scientific. Why? Because what is science? Science means first of all you have to observe phenomenon, you have to create hypothesis, then you have to repeat the theory, you have to see if this is repeatable in other places. Only then it is called scientific. Without these things, if you have not observed the theory in the first place, how can it be scientific? So therefore the science itself doesn't accept any of these theories. So I was thinking, for example, I can show you this. I'm just referring to the book. This is Your Secret Journey by Radheshyam Prabhu. So in this you will find this is all some proofs and proofs. So you will find Dr. Harry Manson. He is from Illinois State University. He says that actually our bodies are made up of. No, people think our bodies are made up of chemicals, but these chemicals, if you gather them, they don't cost more than a couple of dollars. But if you put all of them together, you will not get life. Or even if I say, if you get all the chemicals that make up a person, that make up a human being together, does it sound like you? You're just a couple of $5 worth or $10 worth. No, we are much more. We feel that we are much more worthy than just $5 or $10. That's why we spend hundreds of dollars to take care of the body. Isn't it? Why our body? Even our relative's body. If a friend falls sick, then we're ready to take him to hospital and spend thousands of dollars. Why? Because life is more important. Isn't it? So therefore, Dr. Harry Manson says, this is not the essence of the human being. There's something more. Yeah. Okay, this is the theory of spontaneous generation. Yeah. So this is explained by Richard Dawkins. And why am I reading this? Why am I just going through this book? Because you will see for yourself the nature of today's theories. Because sometimes at the back of our mind we may feel, but there's so many theories coming up by so many scientists. Probably they are right. But you will see what are they talking about. It's more, if they make a storybook out of it, probably it'll sell better. It's nothing to do with science. So this is the theory of spontaneous generation. See, what is it? In the beginning, the earth and atmosphere composed of 4 compounds, that is carbon dioxide, methane, ammonia and water. Through energy supplied by sunlight and perhaps by lightning and exploding volcanoes, these simple compounds are broken apart and then they reform to make amino acids. Accumulated in the sea, how did they reach the sea? That's another question. And combine into protein-like compounds. Because proteins are supposed to be the basis of life, more or less. Ultimately, he says the ocean became the organic soup, but still lifeless. Then what happened? A particularly remarkable molecule was formed by accident. Dawkins. He is like the father of atheism. Dawkins. So what is his understanding? A particularly remarkable molecule was formed by accident. Then a molecule that had the ability to produce itself, as the molecule is talking about. Though admitting that such an accident was exceedingly improbable, he maintains that it must be nevertheless have happened. Similar molecules then clustered together, then again by exceedingly improbable accident after accident. Towards the end I'll show you what the scientists say, what's the probability of these things happening. It's beyond imagination. So more molecules came and formed together, they wrapped around themselves to form a protective barrier and finally a membrane, and thus the first living cell was formed. That's what it says. Now, as a refutation to his theory, see these are in short, these are the principal steps. First, presence of right primitive atmosphere, then formation of organic soup, then emergence of proteins and nucleotides in the soup, then formation of cell with the membrane, and then you duplicate it and replicate it. So it's a 5-step process. Okay, problem 1. Can you read through?
Problem 1. Was oxygen present in the Earth's primitive atmosphere?
Yeah. Why? Because he said if the oxygen is present, then simple compounds cannot form amino acids in the presence of oxygen. And if oxygen is not present, then amino acids formed would immediately be decomposed by the different rays present. So either way, if oxygen is present, you can form amino acids. If oxygen is not present, And there's a solution to this. Each one of them is like that. See, second, can you read the second problem?
Was energy supplied by sunlight or lightning or volcanoes present or not?
Yeah, what is the explanation?
Explanation. If energy was not present, simple compounds would not have split and no information of amino acids would take place.
Yeah, that means you have carbon dioxide, methane, ammonia and water. So these compounds have to first be broken down to simpler compounds, and those simpler compounds will again come together as amino acids, form some amino acids, molecules will come together to form amino acids. But now if energy is present, what is the problem? Can you see? Next one.
If the energy was present, that energy would immediately decompose in any amino acid formed into simpler compound.
That means you need energy so that the present compounds can break down to form amino acids. But if the energy is present, the amino acids can never form. Again they will break down. So how can you have energy? Now this is all his own assumption, saying that this was the atmosphere where there was energy and there was oxygen, there is all these things. But these things in themselves cannot support production of life. Want to talk about soul? You can just keep soul aside now. Now you can understand what type of theories they are presenting. Problem 3.
Did the amino acids stay inside the water or outside it?
Yeah. Why? Because if the amino acids stay inside the water, they will never combine to form protein. Because water favors breaking up of big molecules. And other thing is how the amino acids in the atmosphere reach the ocean. That is also not known. Because organic soup, it should be inside the water. That's what is organic soup. And if they are outside the water, they will immediately be decomposed by the cosmic rays. Therefore, he mentioned about organic soup, because they have been protected by the rays. But how did they reach in the first place? Yeah. Next,
How did specific amino acids form in the organic soup?
Yeah, why? Because there are over 100 amino acids. And if you want to produce life, or you can say the basis of life is 20 most important amino acids. And these amino acids are divided into right-hand amino acids, just for the sake of it. Right-hand amino acids and left-hand amino acids. And these 20 are all left-handed, and all of them have to be arranged in a specific sequence. Only then it can lead to life. Over hundreds of amino acids are available, of which you need 20 particular specific amino acids, and they all have to be the left-handed amino acids, and they have to arrange themselves in a particular sequence. And they are so critical that you cannot have one amino acid misplaced, then there is no life. Is that particular? Isn't it? Okay, then problem 5.
How did the right proteins form?
Yeah. Same again, because of sequence. It cannot be formed. Okay, so now you see. Can you read this paragraph?
What is the chance of even a simple protein molecule forming at random in an organic soup? Evolutionists acknowledge it to be only
1 in 10 power 113. Just to form a simple molecule. According to his theory, if you have to form a simple molecule, this is the probability. According to mathematicians, anything above 1 in 10 power 50 is dismissed as not possible by mathematicians. And this is 1 in 10 power 113. And then, following his theory, if someone says, what's the probability that life will be produced finally? It's 1 in 10 power 40,000. This is science. And he is the father of atheism, Richard Dawkins. So like this, see what is that? Chance of obtaining all these at random. 1 in 10 power 40,000. So in this way we understand that it's not possible. There are further problems which came first, proteins are DNA. And they have to be simultaneously made, which is arguably not possible because DNA also requires proteins. So I just wanted to show you this because now we understand the nature of all the theories which are being put forth and therefore which are not being accepted are this. This is the nature. What is it? It cannot be verified. No one has observed it. And it includes lots of assumptions and somewhere in between by accident will be written, by chance. That is the saving grace, by chance. Why by chance? Because instead of saying I don't know, to look very sophisticated and learn it, they write by chance it happened. Basically, they do not know what happened, isn't it? So what type of foolishness they are actually spreading? So better it be a fiction novel than a scientific claim for the origin of the universe. Yeah. So when we talk about it, then therefore when Srila Prabhupada was there, he would actually tell his disciples, why don't you go and challenge the scientists? Okay, you have theories, you have the chemicals, produce one living entity. You don't have to produce a human being, produce one mosquito. Can you do? Producing one mosquito? They talk about cloning and everything, but again they have to borrow the life from a living entity. That's what cloning is. You borrow the life. You don't produce life. So, in this way they can never produce life. Why? Because they are thinking matter produces life. It's not possible. Matter never produces life, and therefore they are wrong. They got their mathematical workout in the beginning. The first step of the mathematical calculation is wrong. What is that? They are thinking matter produces life, but only life produces life. How? We can take an example. Does matter produce life, or life produces matter? Take an example of a lemon tree. Now the lemon tree comes up, it is growing, it produces lemons. And from lemon comes citric acid. That means from something which is living, you get chemicals. From chemicals, you don't get life. You see? Yani Shasarabhutana Tasyam Jagati Samyami. Why? Because when the spiritualists and materialists are always diametrically opposite, 180 degrees apart. This is why. Because they are thinking matter produces life, or chemicals can produce life. They also say your emotions, what you are having right now, is also because of your chemicals being secreted. So our question is, does emotion come first or chemicals come first? What is it? Emotions or chemicals? Emotions. Just like if you go back home, say you are from a foreign country, you go back home, you meet your mother. Will you wait for your chemicals to shoot up and then you say, I love you, mother? No. Because we are happy, secretions happen of certain chemicals. So in this way, people are actually simply fooling us, the scientists are fooling us, but Śrimad Bhāgavatam is saving us. Or you can say Śrimad Bhāgavatam in the form of book, or the Śrimad Bhāgavata in the form of person. Person Bhāgavata or book Bhāgavata, they are our saving grace. Where they are actually enlightening the living entities by giving true knowledge. You will not see such fictitious things in Śrimad Bhāgavatam. Everything there is a reason why what happens, why it happens. So this till now what we were discussing was the modern day scientists, what they understand or what they are putting forth. But what is the Vedic understanding? Vedic understanding is there is a soul behind the working of, there is spirit behind the working of matter. Why? Because matter moves when the spirit is active. That means, say I have a hand, I put a glove. Now glove is moving. Glove is moving. Why is the glove moving? Because my hand is inside. But as soon as I remove my hand from the glove only falls down. So similarly, the car is moving because spirit is active. You will find it when you go to airports, in the back where the airplanes, flights are parked, over there is a huge Boeing. And a small pilot climbs up the cockpit and a huge Boeing takes off, isn't it? Or the JCB machine, which is actually picking up huge amounts of mud and cement. It's a big machine, but a small living entity is controlling it. So in this way you find the matter seems to be moving around us, but because there is presence of spirit behind it. So therefore the matter and spirit, there is a big difference. Between a machine and us, there is a big difference. What are the differences? The 6 changes. Prabhupada says, first birth, then growth, maintenance, reproduction of byproducts, dwindling and death. 6 things. Anything that is material, these 6 things do not take place. What happens for matter? It only degrades and destroys. Isn't it? So, in this way we understand We don't have to fall for the foolish claims of the materialistically minded scientists, because they are simply dealing with matter. And Jada Vidya, only with matter. And therefore, their claims or their theories have no much value. They will use sophisticated language. What Shankaracharya said, Samprapte sannihite kale nahi rakshati dukrin tarane. Why? Because yesterday morning I was saying in the Prabhupada lecture that Sri Prabhupada was saying, he was saying the scientists are studying so much this machine. They're studying the machines, they're studying the body, but can they find a solution for death? They cannot. They'll bring out research paper, they'll bring out journals, they'll do deep research studies, but finally they don't have solution for death. Why? Because they only study the chemicals. They don't study the soul. So, therefore, what is important is to understand the Vedic paradigm. Vedic paradigm means there is existence of soul. How do we understand? Can anyone say how do you understand the existence of soul? Because we cannot see the soul. But by observation we can understand the presence of soul. And actually, if we see these reasons, we will see that it's not very difficult. Unless one is a rebellious, stubborn living entity, stubborn to enjoy self-gratification separate from Krishna, he will accept this. So basically there are three external symptoms of a living person. What are they? First one is perception. As soon as we come in touch with, say, gulab jamun, so you see gulab jamun, immediately the mind perceives it, because the jnana indriya, the knowledge acquiring senses, they capture the image of gulab jamun and then the mind processes it. So perception means you see, oh, this gulab jamun, it is sweet, I tasted it last time, it must be very nice. So that processing happens in the mind. That is called as mental activity. So that when the mind wants it, mind desires it, then it gives direction to the working senses, karma indriyas. So that is the time the leg walks towards it, hand picks it up and puts it in the mouth. Isn't it? So three external symptoms of a living entity which contains a soul, therefore is living, is, first one is perception. Second is mental activity. And third one is
Direction. Action.
Action. Yeah. So in this way, we will find these are three external symptoms. And what is the internal symptoms? How do we know the presence of soul? How many of you present here are looking for happiness? Everyone. Someone will be saying, no, Prabhu, I want to go and commit suicide. No, you want to commit suicide because you think committing suicide and ending your life is better than current life existence. Isn't it? That means we are actually wanting happiness. Why? Because in all of our endeavors in our life, we can actually observe each and every moment what we are doing. And why we do it? It's only for two reasons. First one is Atyantika Sukha Pravritti and Atyantika Dukha Nivritti. That means constantly we are the living entities in this world are endeavoring to increase their happiness. To how much? 1 liter of happiness? 1 gallon of happiness? No. Room full of happiness? Temple full of happiness? No. Unlimited happiness. Similarly, at the same time, how much distress do we want? 1 distress a day? 1 distress in 1 week? 1 distress a year? No, we don't want any distress. So this shows we are actually, the nature of the soul is it is ananda. That means it is pleasure seeking. Anandamaya abhyasa, Vedanta Sutra says. Other one is you will find none of us want to die in this world. Therefore, so much Lakshmi is being invested in the hospitals because people think the doctors will give solution to death. It's just because we don't want to die. If you push a person, hands tied, legs tied from top of a building, you will find from the inside there is some force trying to hold on to something. Isn't it? You pick up a stone, immediately the bird flies away. Pick up a stone and aim at the dog runs away. Isn't it? Of course, here you cannot do that, in India. Why? Because fear of life. Because no one wants to die. That is the nature called as Sat. Eternal, because we are eternal by nature. The soul is eternal. And constantly, some people say that I don't like school, I just like to do other things. No, whatever one may do, either through education institution or by experience, one is gaining knowledge. And we all would like to raise our collar and say, I'm a very learned man. Isn't it? Even though one may be a tougher number one, he doesn't know anything, but he wants to say, I'm learned. May not be in some technical subject matters, but in something else. Why? Because we are all knowledge seeking also. This is by nature. For example, who teaches the lizard how to eat, the baby lizard? Does mother hold a course? 1 week course that you how to eat, how to catch prey? No. But this is knowledge. Because the soul is already knowledgeable. And what is required is provided by the Paramatma. So in this way you will understand that the three external features of perception, mental activity and purposeful action, and the three internal symptoms of Sat, Chit and Anand. This shows that soul exists. Why? Is this scientific? Yes. Can anyone say why is it scientific? What I spoke, 6 things. 3 external and 3 internal. Why is it called scientific? I told you the definition of anything that is scientific. First, observable. Second, you can hypothesize or make a theory. Third, you can repeat it. Isn't it? Now, first one is observation. You can observe this in yourself. At least. All of you raise your hand. Now, the theory is what I am presenting. And third is you have to repeat it. I asked all of you and all of you said yes. You are looking for happiness. We all want to be knowledgeable and none of us want to die. Isn't it scientific? This is real science. Therefore, you will find decades ago, at least half a century ago or 1 century ago, people who were philosophers, they were also scientists who would research into nature. Why? Because the goal of science is to understand life. The goal of science is not to make commodities to increase our sense gratification in this world. Isn't it? So, therefore, the Vedic paradigm is, yes, there are stimuli which affects the body, but body doesn't feel pain or pleasure. Who feels pain or pleasure? The person sitting inside. He is a perceiver of pain. If you capture a scientific image of what happens, say you are hitting a nail and you hit your thumb. What happens according to science? Okay, there are some electrochemical changes that happens and it is carried to the neurons which signals the brain. Okay, done. But who is feeling the pain? Can science tell you? Who is feeling the pain? Cannot tell. If you ask a scientist what is gulab jamun, he will say gulab jamun is a round object which is brownish in color and dipped in a golden liquid of such and such viscosity, of such and such density. The gulab jamun is such and such density. But can you tell me the taste of it? No. For taste, what you have to do? Pick it up and put it in your mouth. Why? Because science cannot perceive emotions. Who perceives emotions? Pains or pleasures? It is the soul. Is this point clear? Understandable? So, soul or us, we, the Dehi, Dehinos Punyata Dehi. So, Dehi is the one who is perceiver of pain and pleasure. Body or dead matter cannot perceive. Basic mistake of the scientists make. So, in this way we find in this verse, Prabhupada says how no material scientific advancement can produce life. Whatever, in another place I was reading, today the scientists have access to almost all the chemicals, all of the most of the elements. Bring them together and produce life. It's not possible. Therefore, how does life come? The Supreme Lord, Aham Bija Pradapita, in the 14.4 verse comes. I am the seed giving Father. I put the living entities, Adatta Viryam, means I place the living entities in the material nature, Pradhana. That is called as impregnation. So, before I conclude, I just wanted to just speak one point that you will find the Śrimad Bhāgavatam talks a lot of technical knowledge also. Why is it required? Parikshit has 7 days. By third canto, probably even lesser. Isn't it? Probably you could have asked just talk about Krishna Leela throughout 7 days. What is the need for this? But it's very important. Why? Because first of all, technical knowledge helps us to appreciate Krishna's greatness. Why Krishna's greatness? When we understand how this universe is created, how complex is the structure of the universe, and how complex is the working of the universe, and how much, though it is complex in its structure and working, Krishna is not involved. Why? Because Parasa Shakti Vidya Vishwaviti. He just does it through his energy. So how great Krishna is. First of all, we appreciate Krishna's greatness, which is the path to appreciating his sweetness. And second, we should also understand such knowledge is not bereft of Krishna consciousness. Why? Because as this chapter proceeds, you will find that now they are talking about creation. Then they talk about how all the living entities are put in the universe. The demigods have assembled and taken different strategic positions of the Virata Purusha. But still the Virata Purusha doesn't wake up. Why? Even if you balance on a balancing scale, if you put the living entities, unlimited amount of living entities on one side, and you put the Supreme Lord as a super soul who comes into the universe on the other side, who weighs more? Super soul weighs more. Because unlimited number of living entities were placed into the Pradhana here. But still, towards the end you will find the demigods also have come, they are all requesting, they are all thinking now the Virat Purusha will get up. But no, the universe was dead. Only when Krishna expanded as a super soul and came in, that is the only time the universe became alive. So again, in this way you will find this jnana mentioned in Śrimad Bhāgavatam leads to making us more Krishna conscious. Isn't it? So therefore, initially when I was studying Śrimad Bhāgavatam, I would find such things very boring, especially the second, third canto creation and fifth canto, structure of the universe. Because it's so mind-boggling, you don't understand anything. So it would be very boring for me to study those parts. Then one devotee told me how to study such parts. Always before we open Bhagavatam, we can offer prayers to Bhagavatam and always understand this knowledge, though technical, is going to make me Krishna conscious. Why? Because the essence of what is being presented is Krishna. It's not, no page or no paragraph of Śrimad Bhāgavatam is bereft of Krishna consciousness. To make it easier, Prabhupada puts Krishna in purports also. Isn't it? So therefore, when we have the right intention, I'm studying Bhagavatam, why? Not to become a scholar, not to become and show people that I'm a very learned person, but only for one reason, that I want to be Krishna conscious. With that intention, when you study Bhagavatam, even the technical aspects become rasik. That means because you can see Krishna over there. So in that way, we understand Śrimad Bhāgavatam has kicked out all the other cheating religions of Dharma, Kama, Moksha and other things, and it only represents pure devotion to the Supreme Lord. And that's present even in these verses which are completely technical in nature. So I'll stop there. If anyone has any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna, thank you. I had a question. You mentioned that can you repeat this? That you said that pleasure is not experienced by the body. It's pleasure is through the soul. Is that?
Yeah, the experience, the perceiver of pain and pleasure is the soul, not the body.
So I'm thinking that if you're looking from a scientific point of view, we have these chemicals that fire like norepinephrine, and that comes like to a state of euphoria, and we can say like serotonin and melatonin, they have different effects on the body, and necessarily like people like sometimes take anxiety medication to cure their anxiety, but I guess is that perceived by the soul, because that's changing changing may not be the right word, but it's influencing the viewpoint of the perceiver. Does that make sense? So how do
still whatever happens to the body is still experienced by the soul. So therefore, even though sometimes say you give a laughing gas to someone is laughing like anything, doesn't mean he's happy. It doesn't mean he's happy. So sometimes when you vary the chemicals, by using these 4 happy chemicals, say you think it's making him happy, he's not truly happy. Though he can perceive happiness, he can perceive pleasure, but he is not satisfied. The soul is not satisfied. But in every case, soul is the perceiver. Because body is dead. So who perceives? Isn't it? Can table perceive? Can I tickle the table? You cannot tickle the table. So similarly, none of the matter they cannot perceive at all. So therefore, what Prabhupada says is, they cannot, no amount of material scientific advancement can produce life. Yeah.
I guess the question comes is that how do we discern between pleasure and satisfaction of the soul? Because you mentioned the laughing gas, is that for me, that even though like let's say I get a lot of laughing gas for a long period of time, I may feel that it's very laughter and very funny, but internally you're saying I'm not satisfied.
Yeah. So generally, there is a tendency in the conditioned living entities to confuse themselves between pleasure and satisfaction. And therefore there's a rat race trying to accumulate as much money. There's dhanam janam sundarim. Only for this reason, because they have confused themselves with pleasure and happiness. So how can you see this? When you see people who have a lot of money, they think they're happy. At least that's what they showcase to others, I'm the happiest person. But actually they're not happy. Many case studies are there. Similarly, people, you will find in Śrimad Bhāgavatam, I think it was Guru and Urvashi. After enjoying with one another for 1,000 years, Evam Varsha Sahasrani, their verse comes. He says, finally I have not attained happiness. Similarly, you will find another example of Hiranyakashipu. What is that verse with Kakub? Nirjita Kakub. You know that verse?
Which verse?
Hiranyakashipu's, it comes as Nirjita Kakub. It shows that how he gained all control across the universe, but he was not satisfied inside.
Oh yeah, I know it is that.
Yeah. So here you will find, in spite of achieving the power to control in all directions, in spite of enjoying all types of dear sense gratification as much as possible, Hiranyakashipu was dissatisfied because instead of controlling his senses, he remained dissolvent. So this is what I'm trying to say is, so technology brings comforts and luxuries, which only gives pleasure. Pleasure means what? There's some titillation of senses is pleasure, which the soul can perceive, but not necessarily that's the cause of happiness. Therefore, as brahmacharis, as in the renounced order, or as devotees, we are performing austerity. We are saying no. We are actually rejecting pleasure because it is deceiving to us. It is deceiving us from thinking that happiness lies in pleasure. Actually, it's not. Actually, we are happier than people who enjoy self gratification, which goes to show that actually happiness is much more different than pleasure and much more deeper and satisfying. That's it. Yes.
I'm just interested, you were reading from some kind of a book or something like that. What is that?
The book is Your Secret Journey by Radhesham Prabhu.
It's available on, in obviously digital form.
Yeah, it is. Yes. I can send it to you.
Is that?
I can send it to you. I have the PDF.
Okay. Is that cool?
No, I can send the book if you want.
Yeah.
I have the online.
Okay.
Thank you everyone for we have a question. It's only time but last one.
Thank you for your class. A lot of really nice points. I'm just kind of curious about this, how the Supreme Personality of Godhead impregnates material nature with his internal potency. And in the purport, Prabhupada mentions this breeding source of all varieties as the Mahad Tattva. What can you explain that a little bit more? What is this breeding source? What is that?
Okay. So all the living entities, without their bodies, without their physical, this gross body, which is actually given by material nature, is actually kept in placed in Mahatattva. How that happens is by glancing. Impregnation happens by Lord's glancing. It's called as Shambhu. So through glance, the Supreme Lord is called as Narayana. Narayana means he is the abode of the Naras, of the living entities. So when all the dissolution happens, Praliyate, Bhutva Bhutva Praliyate, that time when the universal destruction happens, they go and reside in Mahavishnu. So again when the creation again when the universe comes out, then he actually, or when you can say again when it is time for creation, he again puts the living entities back into Pradhana along with their karma and everything through glancing. That's how they come into the material world.
That makes sense, but when it's talking about in this, in the text, it's talking about that he does this through his internal potency, and in the word to word it says that his internal potency is semen. So I don't understand how, like...
Yeah, so why Prabhupada says semen in the purport, that is because in the verse it is mentioned as Viryam. And therefore in the beginning I was saying that Supreme Lord is completely divine. So why divine? Because though for us it is different, semen is different, but for him it is not like that. So when they say semen, it is to make us understand.
Oh, okay, so it's actually just his glance.
Yeah, through glancing he infuses the pradhana with the living entities.
Okay.
Yeah, and pradhana gives the bodies for all the living entities according to their karma. That's why in the beginning you find it is mentioned as Daivat, like I mentioned. You see, Daivat Shubhit Dharminyam. Daivat means along with the karma. So that is what agitates. Now once the karma is there, living entities are there, now material nature gives them body according to their past karma, what they are supposed to get. And therefore, she is called as the breeding place of all varieties of life. Thank you for your attention. Gatashan Bhāgavatam ki
Jai.
Śrimad Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Thai Ho.
His Grace Arjunananda Prabhu ki.
There's another nice verse along the lines of that one you showed, that Brahmana Dev, when he's begging the land, and he says, "My dear king, even the entirety of whatever there may be in the three worlds to satisfy one's senses cannot satisfy a person whose senses are uncontrolled." It's the same exact verse.
What is the verse number?
Hold on a second. It's 8, 19, 21. That section is very good about how we should endeavor for more than we actually need. Actually, it's very he says the way of happiness is to be fully satisfied to achieve that which is absolutely needed.
Yeah.